Secret societies of antiquity were guardians of knowledge that most people were not even aware of. For instance, the mysteries of Eleusis were conducted in a sacred ritual that lasted over 2,000 years and attracted followers from all corners of Greece and even beyond. These rituals promised participants rebirth and salvation in the afterlife, and their content was shrouded in a veil of secrecy. Only the initiated could understand the significance of the symbols and gestures used during the ceremonies. The Pythagorean Union, on the other hand, was not just a philosophical school, but also a community where mathematics and music intertwined with spiritual practices. Members of this society swore to secrecy regarding their knowledge, creating an aura of mystique. Their teachings on numbers and harmony were so profound that they could influence the understanding of nature itself. The cult of Mithras, which emerged in the Roman Empire, also adhered to strict rituals and initiations, including complex ceremonies symbolizing the victory of light over darkness. These ceremonies were performed in dark caves, where flickering torches cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an atmosphere of mystery. Do you know what kind of knowledge these societies could hold? It wasn't just practical skills like astronomy and medicine, but also philosophical musings on the nature of the universe and the human soul. Each level of initiation revealed new secrets, and with each step, participants felt part of an endless tradition rooted in the depths of time. Symbolic gestures and passwords, passed down through generations, created a sense of belonging to ancient knowledge that remained inaccessible to most. These societies provided a continuous thread connecting ancient civilizations with the present day, and their influence can still be felt today in various forms. For example, secret symbols and rituals, sometimes used in modern organizations, hark back to the same foundations as the ancient mysteries. But here's a shocking detail. In some cases, these knowledge could include the ability to influence weather and predict future events. Have you ever considered how such power could have shaped the course of history? Did you know that the ancient city of Merida hides architectural secrets that still spark debate among historians? This mysterious city, located in the heart of Mexico, served as a laboratory for studying the fusion of Mayan, Toltec, and even later civilizations. Imagine walking along streets where the walls of ancient temples, standing 30 meters tall, are shrouded in legends and adorned with intricate carvings reflecting various styles and techniques. Each detail reveals traces of how different peoples interacted with one another. It's fascinating that many buildings in Merida were constructed using local limestone, giving them a unique appearance. Light-colored walls that shimmer like precious stones in the sunlight, creating a sense of magic. While some scholars suggest that Merida was a major trade and cultural hub connecting various civilizations, others point to its role as a place where customs and traditions merged. What's even more intriguing? Artifacts found during excavations indicate contacts with civilizations thousands of kilometers away, such as jade objects that could have been brought from distant Central America. This raises the question, what goods could have been exchanged between cultures? The feeling of being at the center of events is amplified by the sounds of the tropical forest surrounding the ruins. The calls of exotic birds, the rustling of leaves, and even distant waterfall sounds. It seems that nature itself guards these ancient walls, as if they hold secrets waiting to be revealed. And the most astonishing thing, in some halls, frescoes were found depicting not only traditional scenes, but also motifs characteristic of entirely different cultures, indicating the diversity of influences. These paintings may tell stories of festivals or rituals that united people from different nations. With each step through this place filled with mysteries, there's a sense that the history of Merida is far from over, and that new amazing discoveries await within its depths. Did you know that ancient surgeons managed to perform operations that were as complex as those done today? In the Neolithic period, people already practiced trepanation, drilling holes in bones using primitive tools made of obsidian or copper. Imagine yourself in that time. You hear the sound of the tool sliding over bone, and the air is filled with the scent of herbs used as anesthetics. Perhaps it was sage smoke or an opium-based tincture. Remarkably, archaeologists have found numerous skulls with healing scars, indicating that patients survived these operations. Ancient surgeons' technologies did not stop at trepanation. In Pompeii, surgical instruments were discovered that closely resemble modern ones. Knives, clamps, even needles for sutures. All these demonstrate that medical practice was well developed. Egyptian medical papyri contain recipes and descriptions of operations, including complex procedures like removing bladder stones. Ayurvedic practices in India combined surgery and phytotherapy, allowing them to treat diseases that today require advanced technologies. Picture the ancient doctors looking at their patients with a sense of responsibility and hope, despite the pain and fear, as they believed in healing. They used not only physical tools, but also their knowledge of herbs and minerals to alleviate suffering. With each new discovery, it becomes increasingly clear that ancient medical practices were much more sophisticated and varied than we might have thought. And what is truly astonishing, in some cases, patients not only survived, but also returned to full health. Some skulls show that people could live many more years after the operation, proving the high level of skill of the surgeons. It's astonishing that in ancient Egypt, craftsmen could work with granite and other stones with such precision that even today's scientists cannot explain how they achieved it. Granite, which has a hardness of 7 on the Mohs scale, was processed with remarkable care. Perfectly smooth surfaces and sharp angles continue to impress all who study this material. Consider how the ancient craftsmen could create cylindrical holes with minimal deviation, a feat that would be challenging even with modern equipment. The polished surfaces of granite, which retain their mirror-like shine over millennia, testify to a skill that seems unattainable. Scientific hypotheses about the methods of processing range from the use of abrasive sand and copper saws to more exotic theories involving sound technologies. Imagine how the craftsmen used abrasive sand to slowly and relentlessly carve forms that continue to astound. The sound a stone makes when tapped resembles a crystal's chime, evoking a sense of grandeur and power. But this is not the most intriguing part. There is a theory that they could use vibrations to make working with the stone's hardness easier, opening up a new level of understanding of the technologies of the time. Scientists have yet to find traces of the tools that would have left such masterful marks, although the evidence of their work is visible everywhere. The question of how they achieved such results continues to puzzle archaeologists and historians. Some claim that the Egyptians could have used methods that seem fantastical today, including mysterious sound technologies that could resonate with the molecules of the stone. The scientific community debates the possible materials used in processing, from copper tools to unknown alloys that could handle such hardness. The smoothness we see on 1,000-year-old statues and obelisks speaks to the level of technology that was beyond our comprehension. How did the ancient Egyptians create such masterpieces? The fact that diorite, with a hardness of 7 to 8, makes us wonder what else we do not know about the skill of these people. On the map created by the Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis in 1513, the contours of a coastline are depicted, which, seemingly, should never have been known in his time. Consider this. How could seafarers, without modern technologies, have recorded places hidden under an ice cover? This remarkable cartographic work shows details that align with modern concepts of the Antarctic coastline, although the ice has never allowed this land to be seen. Piri Reis claimed to have used ancient sources, including works by authors such as Eratosthenes and Claudius Ptolemy. But none of them could have predicted that mountains and valleys lay hidden on the southern continent. Furthermore, some researchers assert that the map even includes details of underwater topography, which is puzzling. How could ancient sailors create such precise images? Modern research shows that in some areas described by Piri Reis, there are indeed natural formations similar to those depicted on his map. But what is truly astonishing, similar maps created in the same centuries also show sections that could not have been known without modern navigation tools. For instance, paintings by Chinese seafarers depict lands far beyond the known routes of their time. What is this? Secrets of the ancients, lost knowledge, or merely fantasies? This mystery becomes even more intriguing when one examines maps created in 1605, which also show unknown lands and even the outlines of modern continents like South America and Africa with remarkable accuracy. Many scientists wonder, how could these cartographers, living in an era when maps were drawn by hand and without precise measurements, achieve such skill? And the most intriguing part, Some maps also feature images reminiscent of modern technologies, such as submarines and airships. This enigma remains unsolved and attracts the attention of researchers worldwide who strive to understand how ancient cultures could possess such geographical knowledge that modern scientists are only beginning to uncover. Queen Nefertiti, one of the most prominent figures of ancient Egypt, vanished from historical records so suddenly and mysteriously that researchers continue to puzzle over this enigma. Imagine this. Her image, immortalized on the famous bust, became a symbol of beauty and power, while her influence on the religious reforms of Akhenaten was immense. She was not merely the wife of the pharaoh, but also actively participated in his attempts to introduce the cult of the sun god Aton, which shocked the traditional Egyptian society. After the 12th year of Akhenaten's reign, her mentions begin to disappear, as if she had vanished into thin air. What do you think could have happened to such a charismatic figure? Some researchers suggest she may have died from an epidemic sweeping the country, while others propose a theory of her exile, possibly due to her involvement in religious conflicts. But there are even more intriguing theories. Some believe Nefertiti may have changed her name and continued to rule under the guise of Pharaoh Smenkhkare, which means her influence on Egypt could have been far greater than we usually think. The search for her tomb has been a true odyssey for archaeologists. 80 years ago, in the 30th year of the 20th century, a mummy known as the Younger Lady was discovered, which continues to spark debate about whether it is indeed the remains of Nefertiti. She was buried with immense wealth, but her tomb has never been found, only adding to the mystery of her fate. And the most astonishing thing? Researchers still cannot agree on whether Nefertiti was a victim of political intrigue or if she managed to escape from power, leaving behind only myths and legends. The intrigues surrounding her life continue to captivate attention, and each new artifact found in Egypt could bring new answers to the questions that haunt historians' minds. In the caves of Liguria, on the north of Italy, mysterious drawings are hidden that challenge our perception of ancient civilizations. Imagine the coolness of the caves, where walls, covered with a layer of centuries-old moisture, guard ancient secrets. The dim light of a flashlight softly illuminates strange figures that resemble modern underwater vehicles, as if they came from another time. Some have elongated shapes with rounded edges, others have characteristic vertical projections, like technical details of an unknown device. The age of these drawings is over 30,000 years, and they were discovered in the 20th century when archaeologists began to explore this mysterious region. Some researchers suggest that these images could be evidence of ancient technologies that were lost over time. But wait, that's not all. Other scientists claim that the figures could represent stylized images of boats or even marine animals like dolphins. How could people living in the Upper Paleolithic era create such precise and detailed images? What is even more shocking? These findings may indicate that ancient people had more complex ideas about the sea and its inhabitants than we thought. While some see these drawings as harbingers of technology, others assert that they are simply art reflecting the realities of the time. What must it have felt like for a person to draw on these cold stone walls while the wild nature raged outside the cave? Each stroke and line on these walls creates an atmosphere of mystery that envelops these artifacts. Researchers continue to discover new details, and each time these mysterious creatures, drawn on the rocks, become even more intriguing. They still hold many unanswered questions. How exactly did ancient artists manage to capture such complex forms? And what could they have known about the underwater world that remains unknown to us today? With each new study, scientists delve deeper into this intriguing history. In particular, the analysis of drawings using modern technologies reveals details that were previously unnoticed. These discoveries raise more questions than they answer, and each new study adds new layers to this historical enigma. For example, recent work using three-dimensional scanning has shown that some figures have layers that may indicate changes in art over thousands of years. And just when you think you've seen it all, new discoveries emerge, making you wonder, what else does this mysterious cave hide? In the ancient texts of various civilizations, descriptions of mysterious flying devices used by deities can make one ponder what truly happened on Earth in those distant times. For instance, the Vedas mention vimanas, celestial chariots that emitted bright light and thunderous sounds as they ascended into the sky, moving at incredible speeds. Imagine these chariots, gleaming and flickering in the sky, leaving trails of brilliant sparks and the rustle of wind, inspiring awe in witnesses. The Bible also describes chariots of fire that carried prophets to heaven, which, like the Vimanas, can evoke thoughts of something more than mere mythology, given the enigma surrounding these chariots. Sumerian texts, which mention gods descending from the heavens on illuminated objects, add further intrigue. How could ancient people so accurately describe technologies that seem modern? Erich von Däniken's theory raises a startling question. Could these descriptions be evidence of contact with extraterrestrial beings who left their mark on the mythologies of various peoples? However, opponents of this theory argue that such descriptions are merely metaphorical images explaining natural phenomena and forces that ancient people could not comprehend. They suggest that the bright flashes and thunder accompanying the appearance of these chariots could be attributed to lightning or other natural disasters. These debates continue to captivate researchers, as each discovery can shed light on how ancient people perceived their world. But what is truly astonishing? Indian texts speak of flying machines that could not only fly, but also move underwater. Are these genuine evidence of technology, or merely the product of ancient people's imagination? Imagine a black basalt stone that became the key to unraveling a 1,000-year-old mystery. The height of the stele is approximately 1 meter, and its width is about 70 centimeters. On its surface, there are 3 identical texts written in different languages: ancient Greek, Demotic, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. This wonder, known as the Rosetta Stone, was discovered in 1799 during a French expedition in Egypt. The rough texture of the stone, contrasting with the clear lines of the carved signs, creates the feeling that each letter breathes history, waiting for someone to uncover its secrets. But how did this stone help decipher the ancient script? The 18th century was a time when historians were at a loss, trying to understand hieroglyphs that had remained a mystery for centuries. Then, Jean-François Champollion, a French linguist, stepped onto the stage. Using the Rosetta Stone as a foundation, he was able to match the signs with known words in Greek. He noticed that because the texts in different languages were identical, he could decipher the key symbols. Thus, in 1822, Champollion declared that he had deciphered the hieroglyphs, stating, "I have found the key to the Egyptian script." This discovery opened the gates to the world of ancient Egypt. Names of pharaohs, stories of gods, and even the daily life of ordinary people became known. What is most astonishing is that with the help of the Rosetta Stone, Champollion deciphered more than 250 hieroglyphs, which became the basis for further research. Soon after, genuine archaeological booms began, as scholars started digging up ancient temples and tombs, finding more and more evidence confirming his discoveries. One of the most captivating aspects was that thanks to this stone, scholars were able to understand how ancient Egyptians recorded their religious texts and laws, which had previously been shrouded in mystery. Imagine touching a stone that became one of the most significant artifacts in history. It not only revealed the secrets of the past, but also opened new horizons for understanding the entire human civilization. And the most shocking thing? Research based on this discovery continues to this day, and each new finding adds new layers to our understanding of the ancient world. The legend of the Hanging Gardens of Semiramis tells that they were so magnificent that each of their elements seemed to be created to awe. Imagine terraces raised 30 meters above the ground, supported by massive columns that created the illusion of a green oasis amidst the lifeless desert of Mesopotamia. But this is not the most astonishing part. To sustain life in these gardens, a complex irrigation system was required. Architects used special pumps to lift water from the Euphrates to water exotic plants that emitted the scents of fresh herbs and flowers. Imagine this. On a hot day, when the temperature reached 40 degrees, there was a cool breeze in these gardens, and the sound of water from the channels created an atmosphere of calm and serenity. Each step on the terraces revealed new views of the greenery, starkly contrasting with the surrounding desert where there was only silence and sand. Despite the fame of the Hanging Gardens as one of the 7 wonders of the world, archaeologists have not yet found definitive remains of them, which has sparked endless debates about whether they truly existed or were just a figment of imagination. Some researchers claim that these gardens could have been located not in Babylon, but in another place, such as Assyria, adding more mysteries to their legendary history. What is even more shocking? Some scientists believe that there could have been several such gardens, all built on the same principle, but with differences in vegetation and architecture. Few people are aware that the Romans invented concrete that not only endured the test of time, but also grew stronger with each passing year. This material, known as opus cementitium, included volcanic ash, which gave it unique properties. It hardened even underwater, allowing for the construction of robust structures that continue to awe us. Imagine aqueducts stretching for tens of kilometers, providing cities with water flowing through smooth stone channels, creating a melodic sound that still echoes in the minds of those who have visited these magnificent structures. Roman baths, with their cool halls and marble floors, were true oases of comfort. Even on the hottest days, they offered refreshing coolness, and the fragrant steam of oils mixed with hot air created a sense of tranquility. Roads built with this remarkable concrete connected cities and provinces, many of which, despite centuries, remain in pristine condition. Their smooth surfaces are covered with polished stone that feels pleasant under the touch. What is even more astonishing? Some of these roads are still in use today, which means that Roman engineering set a standard that is still followed. Complex water supply and sewerage systems, which allowed for the removal of waste, formed the basis for modern cities. Every element of Roman architecture was meticulously planned, and even today, walking past the remnants of that time, one can feel the grandeur and power of what was created. For example, the Pantheon, with its enormous dome, which remains the largest concrete dome ever built without reinforcement, is striking in its symmetry and scale. The diameter of the dome is equal to the height of the building itself, creating a sense of harmony. And this is just the beginning of what the Romans created to leave a mark on history that will not be forgotten. It is astonishing that in different corners of the planet, from Egypt to Mesoamerica and China, pyramids were built, which seemed to be impossible without some connection between cultures. Imagine this. The height of the Pyramid of Cheops reaches 146 meters, while in Mexico stands the Pyramid of the Sun, which is 63 meters tall, and both were built with incredible precision. How could this have happened? For example, in Mesoamerica, temples were built on top of pyramid structures to serve as places for rituals, while in China, similar structures known as pagodas were part of Taoism and Buddhism. One of the most intriguing theories suggests that these architectural parallels could be the result of diffusionism, ideas spreading through trade or migration. But that's not all. Compare the solar symbols found in cultures around the world, from the Incas to the Egyptians, from the Sumerians to the ancient Chinese. They used similar signs to venerate the sun, which was the source of life for all these peoples. How is this possible, given the vast distances? There are even more daring hypotheses pointing to the possible existence of a mother civilization from which all these cultures originated. This sounds like a plot for a science fiction novel, but what if it's true? It's interesting that myths about a flood are found in most ancient cultures, from the Sumerians to the Greeks, and they have striking similarities. For example, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, it is told about a hero who saves himself from a global flood, just as Noah did in the Bible. How could these peoples, separated by thousands of kilometers, create such similar stories? Mythologists emphasize that this may indicate deep human archetypes or real catastrophes experienced by our ancestors. But wait, there's more. There are even testimonies that in different parts of the world, similar structures were built using similar technologies. For example, in the stone blocks used in the construction of pyramids, methods similar to those used in the Inca Valley were applied. This raises the question, could they have exchanged knowledge, or were the technologies forgotten and rediscovered by different cultures? Comparisons show that during the time when these magnificent monuments were built, in many parts of the world, parallel achievements in astronomy and engineering were developed. For example, in Egypt, astronomical observations were used to align the pyramids, while in Mesoamerica, astronomy was the basis for creating calendars. These cultures, seemingly absolutely independent, nevertheless created masterpieces that continue to amaze us today. And the most shocking thing? These mysterious connections between civilizations, which seem to have never been able to intersect, continue to be the subject of discussion and research, opening new horizons for understanding our history. It is astonishing, but ancient structures were not just places of worship. They were genuine astronomical instruments. For instance, the Temple of Abu Simbel, built under the direction of Ramses II, is illuminated twice a year when sunlight penetrates inside and illuminates the statue of the god Amun. This occurs on the day of his birth and the day of his coronation, a spectacle that attracts thousands of tourists, holding their breath in anticipation of this wonder. Imagine the sunlight penetrating the darkness of the temple, creating a play of light and shadow that captivates all present, making them feel part of something greater. Now, let us travel to Chichen Itza, where the Pyramid of Kukulkan creates the illusion of a crawling snake during the equinoxes. When the sun reaches a certain angle, shadows falling on the pyramid steps create the effect of a snake descending the staircase. This phenomenon draws crowds of viewers who marvel at the grandeur of the ancient Mayan culture. The 30-meter-high pyramid seems to come alive when light and shadow drama begins on its surface, evoking awe and admiration in the observers. We cannot overlook Stonehenge, a structure that has served as an astronomical observatory since ancient times. On the summer solstice, the sun rises precisely between two massive stones, creating a breathtaking spectacle that enchants viewers. In that moment, the ancient stones seem to come alive, and the sounds of modern awe mingle with the echoes of those who built this monument thousands of years ago. Immersing oneself in the atmosphere of this moment evokes a sense of reverence, as if all present become part of eternity. And this is not all. Ancient cultures around the world used astronomical phenomena to plan their rituals and festivals. For example, in Mesopotamia, the Babylonians built their temples to align with the rising and setting of planets. These architectural decisions were not mere whims. They were based on precise observations of celestial bodies, allowing them to predict changes in nature. All these knowledge were passed down from generation to generation, and the impressive achievements of ancient builders continue to amaze us. Do not forget that these structures were not just architectural masterpieces, but also testimonies of a deep understanding of astronomy and nature. Each element, each detail had its significance, and observing celestial phenomena became part of people's lives. And so, the question arises, what other mysteries do ancient structures hide, and how can they change our perception of history? Imagine ancient cities where water flowed through stone aqueducts stretching for tens of kilometers, like giant serpents carrying life and freshness to the heart of metropolises. Roman aqueducts, built with the utmost precision, not only served to deliver water, but also became symbols of the engineering prowess of their time. One of the most famous aqueducts, the Aqueduct of Sergius, was over 100 kilometers long and supplied water to thousands of Romans, creating an unparalleled sense of comfort and civilization. In Mohenjo-Daro, a city built more than 4,000 years ago, there was a complex sewage system where each building was connected to a central sewer. Underground channels, lined with tiles, allowed water to flow unimpeded, ensuring cleanliness and hygiene that many modern cities could only dream of. What's most astonishing? Some of these channels have survived to this day, with widths sometimes reaching 1 meter. Now, imagine the Cretan water pipes made of terracotta, through which water flowed, creating a melodic sound, like a soft hum that filled the streets. These pipelines were true masterpieces, connecting sources to homes, allowing residents to enjoy running water at any time. Don't forget the Minoan toilets with a flushing system that operated on the principle of modern toilets, surprising with their ingenuity. In Rome, public baths, known as thermae, were the true centers of life. Everything began with the heat emanating from underground sources, then, passing through vaulted rooms, created a sense of seclusion and luxury. The echo of footsteps on marble floors, and the scent of oils mixed with the coolness of underground cisterns where water was stored for the comfort of the citizens. While dusty streets were filled with people, inside the thermae, cleanliness and freshness reigned, creating a contrast that could be felt with every sense. And when you think you can't be surprised anymore, Imagine the irrigation systems in Mesopotamia that allowed crops to be grown on barren lands, setting standards for future generations. Do you feel this amazement? Imagine a subterranean world where entire cities are hidden, capable of accommodating thousands of people. These underground cities of Cappadocia, located at depths of up to 70 meters, boast up to 20 levels and are awe-inspiring in their complex infrastructure. Ventilation shafts, stretching throughout the labyrinth, provide fresh air, while deep wells served as water sources for the inhabitants hiding from the outside world. Defensive mechanisms, such as massive stone doors, could be locked from the inside, creating impregnable shelters from enemies and pursuers. Did you know that some researchers suggest these cities were not only used as shelters, but also as places for storing and producing wine? Inside the catacombs, the air is cool and damp, and the muffled sound of footsteps in the tunnels creates an atmosphere of coziness and security. The flickering light of torches casts shadows on walls carved from soft volcanic tuff, and each touch of the stone reminds of a 1,000-year-old history hidden from sight. Each of these subterranean structures is not just a dwelling, but a complex ecosystem where life continued even in the most trying times. It's intriguing that some cities, such as Derinkuyu, could accommodate up to 20,000 people, almost like an entire modern neighborhood trapped underground. But that's not the strangest thing. In these tunnels, not only human traces but also animal remains were found. This raises the question, what compelled them to hide so deep? Some theories suggest that the underground cities were used as religious centers where people sought seclusion for prayer and meditation. But wait, there's more. Some of these cities even had small churches and chapels where residents could perform rituals. Each of these subterranean chambers hides its own story, waiting to be revealed. And the most astonishing thing, new underground structures continue to be discovered in Cappadocia, challenging our understanding of this remarkable civilization. Imagine a clay vessel created around 250 years before our era, capable of revealing more than many modern devices. This artifact, known as the Baghdad Battery, is a remarkable blend of simplicity and mystery. The vessel, resembling a pot, contains a copper cylinder, inside which an iron rod is hidden. This construction is essentially a primitive form of an electric battery. When the vessel is filled with an electrolyte, such as vinegar or lemon juice, it can generate a voltage of 1 to 8/10 of a volt. But this is just the beginning. How could the ancients use this device? Some scientists suggest that the Baghdad battery was used for electroplating metals, giving them a shiny appearance similar to that seen in modern jewelry. Other theories propose medical uses. Perhaps the ancients treated illnesses using a gentle electric tingling sensation that they could feel when in contact with the working device. Picture an ancient physician holding this vessel in their hands, feeling its weight, and seeing the dull metal, which evokes a sense of the time that has passed since its creation. What was it like to feel the gentle tingling on the skin from the electric discharge from the Baghdad battery? But this is not all. Some researchers even suggest that this battery could have been used for religious rituals, creating miracles and mystical effects. Important questions remain unanswered. How could this device have influenced the ancient society? How was it connected to their beliefs and practices? Each new discovery brings us closer to unraveling this mystery, but the Baghdad battery continues to be a symbol of ancient knowledge that may have been lost or forgotten. And here's the most astonishing thing. There are even older artifacts that could change our understanding of the history of technology. Imagine a night sky, adorned with billions of stars, which ancient peoples studied with awe and reverence. For example, the Maya were able to determine the length of the solar year with an accuracy of 21 minutes, using complex astronomical observations and specialized calendar systems. Their famous Tzolk'in calendar consisted of 12 months of 30 days, and was not just a tool for tracking time. It was an art form reflecting their understanding of the cosmos. But that's not all. The Babylonians, who lived in what is now Iraq, predicted lunar eclipses with such precision that their astronomical records still amaze modern scientists. They developed complex tables that allowed them to predict eclipses years in advance, using only observations of the moon and sun. Now imagine the builders of Newgrange in Ireland, who created massive megaliths illuminated by the sun only on the winter solstice. Each year, At this moment, the sun's rays penetrate their temples, creating a magical atmosphere where people gathered to celebrate. But that's not all. The Antikythera mechanism, found in an ancient shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera, is a true astronomical enigma. This device, dating back to the 1st century BC, could calculate the movements of celestial bodies and predict solar and lunar eclipses. Its intricate gears and mechanisms, which were on par with medieval technology, demonstrate the advanced knowledge of ancient civilizations. And the most astonishing thing? This mechanism remained unsolved until the beginning of the 20th century, when scientists began to study it more deeply and discovered its true purpose. These ancient astronomers indeed left us a legacy filled with mysteries and incomprehensible discoveries, which make a modern person ponder their own knowledge and capabilities. In the mountains of China, in isolated caves, mysterious granite discs with a diameter of about 30 centimeters were found. Each disc has a central hole and spiral grooves reminiscent of micro-engraving. Known as the dropping stone discs, these artifacts were discovered in 1938 by archaeologist Chi Pu Te, who stumbled upon them in a remote mountainous region where light pierced through cracks, and the air was filled with the atmosphere of ancient mystery. However, the most intriguing aspect of this story is not the discs themselves, but the attempts to decipher their alleged inscriptions, which some researchers associate with the crash of a spaceship. Yes, you heard it right. Some claim that the discs contain information about extraterrestrial beings and their visits to our planet. However, many scientists view this story with skepticism, considering it a hoax. The spiral patterns on the discs continue to spark debate. Some see them as evidence of an ancient civilization, while others see them as merely a playful design of nature. Imagine holding these artifacts in the dark caves, far from civilization, feeling the cold granite and trying to unravel their mystery. Sometimes it seems that these discs are silent, but in their silence lies a whole universe of questions. What if these patterns are actually a code that we have not yet learned to read? What stories could these stones tell if they could speak? Questions multiply, and with them comes a sense that we are on the brink of a discovery that could change our understanding of the past. The most astonishing thing is that some researchers claim that similar artifacts are found in other parts of the world, raising even more questions about how these cultures are connected. Each disc, each spiral, could be a key to the mystery. What do you think? What other secrets could they still hide? Imagine, thousands of years ago, long before the advent of modern observatories, there were remarkable structures on the land of Germany that allowed for precise observation of celestial bodies. The Goseck Circle, dating back to around 4,900 years before our era, is a Neolithic structure featuring concentric circles of earthen mounds and wooden posts. These ancient constructions were designed with solar cycles in mind. Passageways oriented precisely towards the sunrise and sunset on key days of the year, enabling ancient observers to record important astronomical events. Now, imagine the pre-dawn silence as the first rays of sunlight begin to pierce through the openings between the massive earthen mounds, creating a sense of connection to the cosmic cycles that so captivated our ancestors. At this moment, the sun's disk appears on the horizon, aligning perfectly with the passageways, and people feel a sense of unity with the world around them. But this is not all. Similar ancient observatories, such as Stonehenge in England or Newgrange in Ireland, were also created for observing celestial phenomena. Stonehenge, for example, became a symbol of ancient astronomy, with stones positioned to indicate the solstices and equinoxes. The Mayan observatories in Central America, such as El Castillo in Chichen Itza, demonstrated equally complex knowledge of planetary and stellar movements. Did you know that these structures used special shadows and sundials to determine time? Picture the ancient priests standing in these places, predicting the change of seasons based on precise observations. They did not just build stones and mounds. They created a whole world where astronomy and terrestrial life were inseparably linked. These places were not just observatories. They were centers of knowledge and spirituality, where each solar cycle held immense significance. What else might these ancient peoples have known about stars and planets? 800 years ago, at an altitude of over 1,000 meters above sea level in Peru, the Incas created their own astronomical structures, which also connected them with the heavens. The Aztecs possessed a calendar system so complex and accurate that modern scholars still study its details. The main components of this system were the ritual calendar Tonalpohualli, consisting of 260 days, and the solar calendar Xiuhpohualli, which had 365 days. However, this was not all. Both calendars intersected in a unique cycle that lasted 52 years. Each of these calendars had its own characteristics. Tonalpohualli was divided into 20 periods of 13 days, while Xiuhpohualli was divided into 12 months, each consisting of 26 days. This structure allowed the Aztecs not only to track time, but also to synchronize their rituals with astronomical phenomena. They could accurately predict solar and lunar eclipses, which made their knowledge of the stars quite advanced. The Aztecs linked their calendars with religious beliefs, conducting complex ceremonies that reflected their faith in the cyclical nature of time and the influence of gods on earthly events. At the end of each 52-year cycle, the Aztecs held grand ceremonies to renew the fire, during which they anxiously awaited the possible end of the world. Imagine the moment when a new fire is lit, symbolizing rebirth and the beginning of a new cycle. These rituals were not just ceremonies, but a whole theatre in which priests and ordinary citizens participated, united in their fears and hopes. The Aztecs' meticulous observations of the starry sky were part of their daily life, and the rhythmic flow of time was determined by complex ceremonies that connected people with their cultural roots. Did you know that the Aztecs considered each day a living being with its own character and destiny? They attributed special significance to each day, making their lives not only predictable, but also meaningful. Now, imagine what your life would be like if you knew that each day carried a special message from the gods. In the heart of the Indus Valley, there once existed a city that was not merely a place of residence, but a true urban legend of its time. Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were not just settlements, but examples of meticulous urban planning, where streets intersected at right angles, creating an ideal grid reminiscent of modern megacities. Imagine walking down bustling streets where the hum of traders' voices fills the air, and the scent of fresh spices and baked goods permeates the atmosphere. These cities had complex sewer systems, among the first in the world, with underground pipes that carried wastewater and maintained cleanliness. All goods were measured using standardized weights and measures, facilitating trade at an extraordinary level. But what caused the decline of this magnificent civilization? Some scholars argue that changes in the river courses played a decisive role. The Indus River, which provided essential resources, began to dry up, leaving the cities without water. Additionally, severe droughts exacerbated the situation. However, this is not all. On the horizon, Aryan tribes appeared, possibly raiding these prosperous cities, adding fear and disorganization among the residents. And let us not forget the possible epidemics that could ruthlessly decimate the population, leaving behind desolate houses and abandoned streets. The citadel of Mohenjo-Daro, towering over the city, served not only as a defensive fortification, but also as a symbol of power and wealth. Within its walls stood magnificent buildings, including the Great Bath, intended for ritual ablutions. This structure, the size of a small basketball court, had a well-thought-out water supply and drainage system, demonstrating the advanced engineering skills of the ancient inhabitants. Yet, even such achievements could not save the city. Gradually, streets once filled with life became silent, and the glow of markets and workshops faded. Picture a once flourishing city, full of sounds and smells, now a desolate place where only the wind whispers of its former glory. These cities, once teeming with life, now leave behind only mysteries and riddles waiting to be unraveled. But do you know that archaeologists continue to find artifacts that may reveal even more secrets of this remarkable civilization? Imagine the scorching air of the Atacama Desert, where on the slope of a hill stands a colossal image, visible only from above. An anthropomorphic geoglyph known as the Giant of Atacama, approximately 119 meters tall. Its dark lines contrast sharply with the bright light background of the desert landscape, creating the impression of an ancient message left for those who can see it from the heavens. Research indicates that this geoglyph could have been created more than 2,000 years ago, when ancient civilizations began to settle in this desolate region. How did they manage to create such a massive figure? The technique was simple, yet ingenious. They removed the top layer of soil, exposing the darker stones beneath, which allowed them to create clear lines and contours. But what was the purpose of this giant? There are several theories. Some scientists suggest that it served as an astronomical marker, helping ancient people orient themselves in celestial phenomena. Others believe that the image was connected to fertility deities, calling for rain for the fields, or even indicating hidden water sources, vital for survival in these harsh conditions. Now, imagine that during festivals or rituals, when the residents gathered around this giant, the scorching air of the desert would fill with the sounds of their celebrations, and the figure would become the center of their worldview and culture. What is even more astonishing? The geoglyph remains almost unchanged to this day, despite the effects of time and climate, preserving the secrets that await their revelation. The enigmatic face of the Sphinx, carved from hard limestone, bears the marks of time that make one wonder. What if this monument is much older than we believe? Geologists studying the erosion marks assert that they could have formed only due to prolonged rains that may have occurred in this region more than 10,000 years ago. Each indentation, each crack in the stone testifies to the fact that this monument could have endured many millennia, immersing us in an atmosphere of antiquity where time seems to stand still. The Sphinx is not just a statue, it embodies silent grandeur, impervious to time, its face bathed in the interplay of light and shadow, lending it an even more ominous appearance. But there's more to it. The astronomical alignment of the Sphinx with the constellation Leo suggests that when it was created, around 11,000 years ago, this constellation was at its zenith, adding another layer of mystery to its history. Gazing at it, one can feel the ancient world, filled with riddles and secrets, revealing its mysteries to us. What else do these stone features conceal, and what secrets are hidden in their silence? These questions compel us to ponder what we might learn about our history if we are willing to delve deeper. Perhaps the Sphinx is not just the guardian of the pharaohs, but also a keeper of knowledge that has endured through the ages. And what is even more intriguing, research indicates that in this region, entire civilizations may have existed, of which we are not even aware, leaving their traces in the sands of time. Under the shores of the Bahamas, mysterious underwater structures lie hidden, resembling a paved road stretching into infinity. These rectangular blocks, meticulously laid out, raise numerous questions. How did they end up at the bottom of the ocean? Some researchers claim they are remnants of an ancient civilization, possibly Atlantis, which disappeared thousands of years ago. Others maintain that nature could have created such a formation through natural geological processes. What is truly intriguing is that the renowned American psychic Edgar Cayce predicted that the remains of Atlantis would be found in this very area. His prophecies, made in the early 20th century, sparked controversy and interest. And now, as underwater research continues, all eyes are on the Bimini Roads. The water around the structures shimmers with sunlight, casting mysterious shadows, while swaying seaweed wraps around the stone blocks, giving them a living feel. These massive stones may have been part of an unknown world that once flourished, now lying beneath the ocean's depths, awaiting someone to uncover their secrets. But that's not all. Near these blocks, other artifacts have been found, further fueling interest in this place. 4 years ago, underwater archaeologists discovered fragments of pottery and tools that, in their opinion, could have belonged to ancient sailors. How did they use these roads? Why were they built here? These questions remain unanswered, and each new discovery adds a new chapter to this captivating story. Some researchers even suggest that this could be part of a vast underwater city that once connected different cultures. Each time researchers dive into these waters, they uncover new mysteries that leave the world in anticipation. The spirit of adventure still lingers, as if the sea itself whispers about the secrets it hides. And indeed, underwater research continues, with each expedition bringing new enigmatic finds that could forever change our understanding of human history. The Knossos Palace was indeed an architectural marvel, with its multi-level structure concealing hundreds of rooms connected by intricate corridors, making it easy to get lost while wandering through them. Now imagine, these corridors were not just a random arrangement of rooms, but part of a complex engineering system that included advanced water supply and drainage systems for its time, allowing the palace to remain vibrant and functional even on the hottest days. Vibrant frescoes adorned the walls, depicting scenes from the lives of the Minoans, dances, marine landscapes, and even cult rituals involving bulls, which underscored the importance of this animal in their culture. Did you know that the myth of the Minotaur, trapped in a labyrinth, likely originated from the complex architecture of this palace? And there's another astonishing detail. The throne room, where the Minoan kings ruled, was surrounded by columns adorned with exquisite carvings, and the throne itself was made of alabaster with 8 cushions for comfort. But that's not all. The storage rooms contained thousands of ceramic vessels filled with grain and oil, as well as evidence of the use of Linear A script, which was used to account for all the supplies. Picture the sunlight filtering through light wells, creating a dance of shadows on the marble floors, and the scent of the sea wafting through the open courtyards, filling the air with freshness. The sounds of palace life, such as children's laughter and traders' conversations, echoed through the corridors, creating an atmosphere full of life and energy. And hidden among all these wonders, there's another remarkable discovery. In one of the rooms, symbols were found that indicated rituals connected to the bull cult, which was at the center of Minoan civilization. What other secrets might the Knossos Palace be hiding? While the caves of Europe remained shrouded in mystery, a culture was developing within their depths, capable of astonishing even today's masters. Suddenly, in the archaeological layers, the Cro-Magnons appear, people whose skills and creativity defy imagination. Imagine the flickering light of primitive lamps illuminating the cave walls, where artists created realistic depictions of animals and hunting scenes with such precision that they could be mistaken for photographs. On the walls, painted red and black, emerge silhouettes of bison and mammoths, as if they are about to come to life. These masterpieces, created tens of thousands of years ago, raise the question: how could these people achieve such a level of skill? They crafted needles with eyes for sewing clothes and harpoons for fishing, as well as atlatls, spear throwers that greatly increased the range of their projectiles. But where did these skills come from, without any apparent predecessors? Researchers are baffled by this enigma, as there were no archaeological finds before the Cro-Magnons that could explain their sudden appearance and remarkable art. These people, with their complex culture, used not only tools, but also music, creating primitive wind instruments that may have filled the caves with sounds of hope and joy. It's as if, through the centuries, we can feel a connection to these artists. Their spirit lives in every stroke, every rhythm. The question of how the Cro-Magnons could create such a rich culture remains open, and scientists continue to seek answers, delving into the mysteries of the past. Discoveries such as sculptures and works of art make us wonder about what we still don't know about our distant ancestors and their extraordinary achievements. And the most astonishing thing? These masterpieces were created in conditions where our modern concepts of culture and art did not yet exist. Have you ever wondered how ancient builders could create such monumental structures as the pyramids, which still baffle modern engineers? Imagine this: stone blocks weighing up to 80 tons, perfectly fitted together with gaps of less than 1 millimeter. It's almost magical, but in reality, it's a result of extraordinary precision and skill. For instance, the Great Pyramid of Giza is oriented to the cardinal directions with such accuracy that the deviation is only 1 degree. How did they manage this? There are several theories about how these massive blocks were moved across the hot sand. Some scientists suggest the use of ramps that allowed the stones to be raised to the required height, while others believe that levers and pulleys were used to distribute the weight and ease the process. Some researchers even propose that the stones could have been moved along waterways created near the Nile, which would have helped reduce friction with the sand. The experience of building the pyramids was unique. The scorching sun of the desert burned the backs of thousands of workers who struggled to drag the stones, while the sound of the stones rubbing against each other created a melody of perseverance and labor. the smell of fresh limestone mixed with sweat, intensifying the atmosphere of powerful creation. The shadows cast by the pyramids at sunset seemed to remind us of their grandeur, creating a play of light and shadow that emphasized their monumental scale. Due to the lack of written sources, scientists have to rely on archaeological finds and modern technologies to understand the secrets of their construction. What is even more intriguing is that some blocks had special indentations and grooves that could have been used for installation and fixation. But for what purpose? The technologies used by ancient Egyptians still raise many questions and debates among scholars. The curse of the pharaohs became a real sensation, shrouded in mystery and fear, especially after the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. Do you know what happened to Lord Carnarvon, who funded the expedition? Just a few months after the tomb was opened, he died under mysterious circumstances. He was bitten by a mosquito, and an infection developed at the site of the bite, leading to his death. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. In the following years, more than 30 people, in one way or another, connected to the discovery of the tomb, faced tragic fates. Some died in car accidents, others suddenly fell ill, and some simply disappeared without a trace. These events formed the basis for numerous rumors and legends about a mysterious curse that supposedly fell upon those who disturbed the peace of ancient pharaohs. But listen, are all these events really connected to the curse? Scientific research offers more mundane explanations. For example, toxic mold fungi are often found in tombs, releasing toxins that can cause serious illnesses. Imagine entering a dimly lit burial chamber, the air filled with a musty smell, and the flickering light of torches softly illuminating hieroglyphs warning of deadly danger. It's not surprising that many researchers could experience fear and panic, which could also affect their health. Psychosomatic effects should not be discounted. Imagine the conditions in the dark, damp corridors of ancient tombs where every shadow could hide danger. Fear and stress begin to manifest physically. And here's where it gets really crazy. In the 1930s, journalists even began compiling lists of curse victims, highlighting each case connected to the tomb. One of the most striking examples was the case of a famous archaeologist who suddenly lost his sight after spending time in the tomb. Have you ever wondered what makes people believe in such curses? Perhaps it's simply a human need to find explanations for the inexplicable. But what's even more shocking? Some ancient texts do mention warnings about leaving tombs undisturbed, and that those who violate this rule will face terrible consequences. It seems these legends will live forever until someone uncovers all their secrets. Imagine a civilization that reached such heights that its palaces had a complex water supply and sewage system, and its art flourished so vividly that even today its frescoes captivate the imagination. The Minoans, who lived on Crete, were true masters of maritime trade and culture, leaving behind magnificent artifacts such as the famous frescoes from Knossos, depicting dancing girls and marine life. But how could such a highly developed civilization disappear? The most shocking theory links its fall to a catastrophic volcanic eruption on the island of Santorini around 1600 years before our era. This was not just an eruption. The roar that shook the earth could be heard for hundreds of kilometers, and tsunamis up to 30 meters high crashed onto the shores of Crete, destroying everything in their path. Picture the ash, blocking out the sun, engulfing once thriving cities, and the panic gripping the inhabitants as they realized their world was crumbling. The destruction of the fleet and trade routes led to a sharp decline in resources, and the life that the Minoans knew came to an end. But this is not the only theory. There are suggestions that the decline of the civilization could also have been influenced by the invasions of the Mycenaeans, who, taking advantage of the weakness, began to seize territories and internal social conflicts that could have been exacerbated by economic difficulties. With each new archaeological discovery, evidence of these catastrophic changes is found. Remains of destroyed buildings, traces of fire, and mass burials. What is even more astonishing, recent research shows that the climate changes following the eruption could have led to a prolonged drought, which finally undermined the foundations of Minoan society. Each new layer of earth on the excavations of Knossos hides more secrets waiting to be revealed, and the question of how exactly this brilliant world fell remains open. In the southwest of Colombia, archaeologists have discovered mysterious golden figurines that raise many questions. These small artifacts of the Quimbaya culture, known as golden airplanes, feature triangular wings, a vertical stabilizer, and a shape reminiscent of the fuselage of modern aircraft. Imagine how the gold glows under the light of museum lamps. These exquisite creations, crafted with such precision by ancient jewelers, are stunning in their detailed work. Each one is imbued with artistry that seems to defy the primitive technologies of the time. But what is truly astonishing? When scientists created large-scale models based on these figurines, they found them to be aerodynamically stable objects. How is this possible? There are several interpretations of these artifacts. Some researchers suggest they are evidence of ancient flying machines that could have soared through the sky like modern airplanes. Others lean towards more down-to-earth explanations, stylized images of birds or insects that were important to local culture. What is even more intriguing? Many of these figurines were found in graves, suggesting they held special significance in funeral rituals. Looking at these artifacts, one feels they come from another time and space. The smooth lines that merge into each other create an atmosphere of lightness and grace, contrasting with the harsh conditions of their creators' lives. They seem to embody the dream of flight, of freedom that was unattainable on Earth. Why were these remarkable objects created in this way? Perhaps it was an attempt to understand the nature of flight, or simply an admiration for the beauty of the surrounding world. Despite the mystery, the golden airplanes continue to captivate scientists and history enthusiasts, driving them to seek answers to questions that could change our understanding of ancient civilizations. And here is where it gets even more fascinating. In some cases, analyzing their shape and construction, researchers find that these figurines may hold the key to understanding not only the culture of Quimbaya, but the history of aviation itself. Can you imagine if these ancient masters truly knew something about flight that we still cannot explain? Pumapunku is a place where stone blocks weighing up to 800 tons are perfectly fitted together, so that a knife blade cannot be inserted between them. Imagine standing among these ancient ruins in the thin mountain air and feeling the silence envelop you, broken only by a gentle breeze. Each surface of these blocks is so smooth that it seems they were cut with high-tech tools, although they are made of andesite and granite, materials that modern technologies struggle to process. The angles between the blocks are completely straight, and the cuts on them resemble complex geometric patterns that could only have been created by geniuses. But there are even stranger details. Metal clamps connecting the blocks raise questions about how the builders could have achieved such precision, given that there are no written records of the construction. How could they have cut such perfectly fitting stones without access to modern tools? The rough landscape surrounding the site, with its rock debris and wild plants, contrasts sharply with the incredible precision of the stonework. The place itself makes you wonder what secrets lie hidden within its depths and what stories these ancient walls could tell if they could speak. The fact that such stoneworking technologies are not found anywhere else in the world generates many theories about who could have built this mysterious structure. Some researchers believe that Pumapunku could have served not only as a temple, but also as a center of knowledge, where ancient scholars could gather to study astronomy and geometry. Their achievements in construction are so impressive that they spark interest in questions about possible civilizations that existed before us. How could they have mastered such skills? And what else does this remarkable complex hide, which continues to provoke disputes and discussions among archaeologists and historians? Even the stones here can tell a story full of mysteries and riddles waiting to be discovered. Imagine a desert where mysterious geoglyphs, the Nazca lines, are hidden beneath the scorching sun. These giant drawings, some of which are up to 37 meters long, depict not only animals, but also geometric figures that seem to be meticulously carved into the earth. How have they managed to survive for centuries in this harsh climate? The answer lies in the fact that this region of Peru receives almost no rain, and the wind barely rustles the sand, leaving these extraordinary works of art intact, visible only from above. But what are their true purposes? Some scientists suggest that these lines could have served as a calendar, marking important astronomical events, while others believe they may have been maps of water sources, crucial for survival in this barren land. There is even a theory that these drawings were ritual paths, along which local inhabitants would appeal to the gods for rain and prosperity. What is it like to stand on the earth where the sand whispers, feeling that your feet touch ancient history, surrounded only by a lifeless landscape? The contrast between this desolate world and the refinement of the images inspires thoughts about how ancient people created such masterpieces. Did you know that some lines are perfectly aligned and have a width of 30 to 40 centimeters? They seem to beckon us to unravel their mysteries. And the most intriguing part? Some researchers claim that the lines could only be seen from the sky, raising the question, how did the ancient inhabitants know this? The Library of Alexandria. Once, this was a place where the knowledge of the entire ancient world was stored, and its walls were imbued with the rustling of papyrus scrolls and the scent of parchment. Imagine, up to 700,000 scrolls representing the wisdom of various cultures, neatly arranged in halls illuminated by the soft light of oil lamps. Each day, this temple of science welcomed scholars, philosophers, and writers to exchange ideas and share discoveries. What is remarkable is that the library used a unique method to replenish its holdings. Copies of all texts on board each ship arriving at the port were taken. This means that every sailor entering the harbour became a part of a grand project to preserve knowledge. But how did this magnificent treasure house fall into decline? There are various versions. One of the most popular suggests that a fire during the siege of Alexandria by Julius Caesar consumed not only ships, but also invaluable scrolls. Picture this. As the fire engulfed the library, thousands of pages burned, carrying with them centuries of wisdom. But this is just one of many versions. According to some sources, the library may have been partially destroyed by the order of Caliph Omar, who believed that the knowledge it contained did not align with his beliefs. Another version suggests that the library gradually declined, losing its readers and protectors. With each passing year, the walls, once filled with life and light, became increasingly quiet, and the scrolls were covered in dust. And the most shocking thing? Even despite all the tragedies that befell this place, there are still secret records of lost texts that could change our understanding of history and philosophy. Legends of sunken civilizations have always captivated adventurers, but none compare to the mystery of Atlantis. What if I tell you that the philosopher Plato described this mythical state in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, claiming it existed more than 9,000 years before his time? He spoke of a highly advanced civilization located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, possessing vast wealth and power, which suddenly vanished beneath the ocean waves. How has this mythical land so deeply impressed our imagination? Scholars still debate the location of Atlantis, with theories ranging from the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean. Recall the sound of waves crashing against the rocks, as if concealing secrets that could rewrite our understanding of history. Some theories point to the North Sea, where underwater reefs might hold remnants of this legendary country. Others suggest the Caribbean basin, asserting that the remains of Atlantis could be buried under many meters of seawater, hidden from the eyes of the ordinary. But that's not all. Some daring souls even consider Antarctica as a possible location, claiming that beneath the ice could lie an ancient continent that once thrived. Imagine the salty smell of the sea embracing your nose, and the feeling of the vast water expanse holding ancient secrets. Isn't it intriguing? What drives researchers to continue their searches despite the lack of conclusive evidence? Remarkable statistics show that over the past 30 years, more than 200 expeditions have been conducted, each uncovering new mysteries and raising questions about what really happened to Atlantis. And what's even more astonishing? In one of the recent findings, artifacts were discovered that could indicate the existence of complex technologies in this mythical state. What if Atlantis is not just a myth, but a real civilization whose secrets are still waiting to be revealed? In ancient texts such as the Mahabharata, descriptions of technologies are found that are astonishing in their scale and capabilities. For instance, mention is made of weapons capable of emitting light brighter than 1,000 suns, leaving behind desolate lands and poisoned food. The imagination paints vivid pictures, a blazing sphere gleaming over a battlefield, and lives disappearing instantaneously under its influence. Survivors are described as losing hair and nails, as if they had been victims of some horrifying experiment. But this is not the only thing that evokes awe. In Vedic texts, one can encounter references to vimanas, flying machines that, according to the accounts, could move through the air like modern aircraft. These devices are described with such detail that their capabilities seem to verge on fantasy. And what about the mirrors mentioned in ancient China? These artifacts, according to legends, could transmit images over long distances, like a prototype of modern communication technologies. A sense of reverent awe fills one when reading these lines, for the archaic language used in the texts contrasts sharply with our modern notions of technology. How could such things have existed in a world without electricity and advanced technologies? These mysterious descriptions raise many questions, and the most astonishing thing is that they are not the only examples. In other cultures, such as the Sumerian and Egyptian, one can also find hints of advanced technologies, complex irrigation systems, and mechanisms moving massive stone blocks. In all these stories, there are not only wonders, but also possible origins of knowledge that could change our understanding of the development of civilizations. For example, in one Sumerian text, a device is described that could perform complex calculations, reminiscent of early computers. These ancient references make one ponder. Perhaps we underestimate the knowledge of our ancestors, and they possessed technologies that we are only beginning to discover and understand. And the most remarkable thing? These texts continue to hold secrets that still await deciphering. On the remote island of Easter, surrounded by the boundless Pacific Ocean, stand statues that inspire both awe and bewilderment. The Moai. These monumental stone figures, reaching heights of up to 10 meters and weighing up to 80 tons, silently observe the world, as if guardians of ancient secrets. Each statue possesses distinctive features: massive heads, elongated noses and chins, and expressive eye sockets, once filled with white coral and red stone fragments. But what is truly astonishing is how these giants were moved from the quarries to the shore. There are numerous theories. Some researchers suggest that the statues were rolled on logs, using them as rollers, while others claim that the Moai walked, rocking on their bases, which not only facilitated their movement, but also added an element of mystery. Imagine the sound of ocean waves crashing against the shore behind these stone giants, the wind carving their stern faces, giving the impression that they live their own lives. The island, surrounded by the ocean, seems isolated from the world, and this atmosphere of mystery envelops it, making one wonder what stories these statues could tell if they could speak. For instance, did you know that there are approximately 900 Moai on Easter Island, but only a small fraction of them are installed on the plateau? The rest are in the process of transportation, adding to the intrigue. What significance did these statues hold for the local inhabitants? There are theories that they represented ancestors who guarded the community. But what is truly shocking is that there are also statues that never reached their destination, left in the quarries, raising questions about the complexity of their creation and transportation. Now, imagine the mysteries hidden in the shadows of these colossi, waiting to be revealed. At the heart of Mexico lies Teotihuacan, a city that was once one of the largest in the world, but whose creators remain a mystery, shrouding even the boldest theories. The pyramids of the sun and the moon, towering against the blue sky, seem to guard secrets that will never be unraveled. The Pyramid of the Sun, standing at 61 meters tall, is one of the largest in the world, and its base covers an area comparable to a football field. Now imagine standing on the Avenue of the Dead, stretching almost 2 kilometers long, and feeling your footsteps echo in the silence, broken only by the wind rustling between the ancient walls. With each step, you sense the atmosphere around you filling with an aura of mystery, as if time has stopped. Parallel to the Avenue of the Dead are dozens of residential and administrative buildings. Their precise geometric layout testifies to the outstanding skills of architects who may have understood how to create harmony and order. But this is not the most peculiar thing. In Teotihuacan, traces of a civilization have been found that are not associated with the Aztecs, as many believe, and their origin and reasons for disappearance remain a subject of debate among scholars. Picture this. In a city once teeming with life, now there is only emptiness and silence. Do you hear the wind playing with the leaves, creating a melody that accompanies you in this ancient place? The steps of the pyramids are covered in dust, and the light filtering through the clouds creates a fascinating play of shadows, adding even more mystery to this place. What happened to the inhabitants of Teotihuacan? Answers may be closer than you think, but to find them, you must delve into the most hidden corners of archaeological research. It is hard to imagine that in this city, once bustling with life, now there are only memories of greatness, and among these memories lie unsolved mysteries. Imagine cold, crystal chandeliers, seemingly carved with mathematical precision. The anatomy of these artifacts is astonishing in its perfection, each rib and line perfectly mirroring a human skull. The polishing of the tabletop chandeliers reaches a level where the surface appears like a mirror, reflecting light in such a way that the empty eye sockets seem alive, as if they follow every movement of the observer. Some of these chandeliers were found in Central America and sparked heated debates among scientists and enthusiasts. Are they ancient artifacts with mystical properties, or are they skillful forgeries created in the 19th century? The debates about the origin of these chandeliers continue, and each new discovery adds fuel to the fire. Do you know that one of the most famous crystal chandeliers, known as the Cassiopeia skull, weighs over 30 kilograms and is on display in a museum in London? Its complex structure and the play of light inside the transparent material evoke both awe and reverence. Many researchers have tried to determine how such chandeliers could have been created with the technologies available at the time, as some of them are estimated to be over 3,000 years old. This raises the question, how could ancient civilizations create such complex objects if modern technologies do not always manage to replicate them with the same precision? Imagine the cold crystal touching your skin, and the play of light creating mesmerizing patterns on the walls in the dark. Some theories suggest that these chandeliers were used in rituals, while others believe they were connected to lost civilizations with knowledge that we still cannot comprehend. Isn't that intriguing? But there's more. Some chandeliers are believed to be linked to global catastrophes that affected ancient cultures. Consider the incredible discovery that might await us when we unravel the secrets hidden in these silent witnesses of the past. At the entrance to the harbour of Rhodes, there once stood an extraordinary statue known as the Colossus of Rhodes, which reached a height of 33 metres, comparable to a modern high-rise building. This massive bronze figure, erected on a solid stone pedestal, not only served as a symbol of victory, but also impressed all who entered the harbour. In bright sunlight, the bronze gleamed, reflecting light and creating a dazzling spectacle visible from many kilometres away. Compare this to a modern lighthouse. The Colossus could not only welcome ships, but also guide them, as if it were the island's guardian. However, its purpose remains a subject of debate. Some believe it was simply a statue, while others suggest it was a kind of lighthouse that aided sailors in finding the harbour. Construction of the Colossus began in 280 BC and was completed in honour of the sun god Helios after the city's successful siege. Unfortunately, its existence was short-lived. Just 56 years after its completion, in 226 BC, a powerful earthquake toppled the statue, leaving only its fragments, which later became objects of admiration and study. Imagine the sound of waves crashing against the base of this giant figure, and how people felt small in the face of such grandeur. Only fragments and legends remain, but the memory of the Colossus of Rhodes continues to inspire travellers and researchers. One theory suggests that after the statue's destruction, its parts were put up for sale, and local residents even used the bronze for their needs. This event became a symbol not only of loss, but also of the destructive power of nature, capable of overshadowing even the most impressive human creations. And what's most intriguing, modern archaeologists continue to search for the sites where the Colossus's remains might be, wondering, did the statue ever stand with its hand raised, welcoming sailors, or did it remain forever in the realm of myths? Imagine that on the walls of caves of ancient people, there are depicted creatures in helmets and with mysterious devices in their hands, reminiscent of modern astronauts. These petroglyphs, found in different corners of the world, raise questions. Did our ancestors really see extraterrestrials? Vedic texts mention vimanas, flying machines that could move through the air and even in space. They describe devices that are difficult to explain without mentioning advanced technologies. And what about the figures of cosmonauts of the Maya, depicted on ancient ritual objects? These statues and frescoes cause admiration and a question. Could these cultures have had contact with extraterrestrial civilizations? Proponents of the paleo-contact theory argue that the sudden appearance of highly developed civilizations, their knowledge in astronomy, architecture, and medicine, all this points to external sources of inspiration. For example, the pyramids of Egypt and Mesoamerica were built with such precision that researchers wonder, how could ancient people achieve such results without outside help? But the scientific community is not in a hurry to agree with these conclusions. Many scientists consider such assumptions to be an attempt to explain what is not understandable, using ideas about extraterrestrials. However, imagine how ancient people could perceive a meeting with beings possessing technologies about which they could only dream. This could cause not only fear, but also awe. What is it like to see something that looks like a flying saucer hovering above you, leaving a trail of light? In medieval artistic works, one can find images that are surprisingly similar to modern notions of UFOs. For example, frescoes where flying saucers are visible in the background cause genuine shock. These artifacts create an atmosphere of mystery. What really happened in those distant times? What role could these encounters have played in the development of human civilization? And what is even more intriguing? Ancient texts mention that these gods taught people agriculture, construction, and even medicine. In Mesopotamia, ziggurats towered to heights of 90 meters, resembling monumental staircases leading to the heavens. These stepped structures, crafted from fired clay bricks and adorned with glazed tiles, were not only architectural marvels, but also symbols of spiritual connection with the divine. Imagine the sun playing on their vibrant tiles, casting long shadows on the earth and creating an atmosphere of mystery and grandeur. As you ascend the monumental staircases, you feel yourself drawing closer to the sky, seeing the city sprawled out below and the horizons receding further. But for what purpose were these giants built? Some scholars suggest that ziggurats served as temples where priests performed rituals in honor of the gods, while others propose that they were astronomical observatories, allowing ancient astronomers to track the movements of stars and planets from great heights. They may also have served as shelters during floods, providing protection for local residents when rivers overflowed and inundated nearby lands. Others view them as symbols of the cosmic mountain, places where the heavenly and earthly realms intersect, and where gods descend to the people. Each of these aspects adds a new dimension to the ziggurats, making them not only architectural objects, but also significant cultural landmarks. From the upper platform of the ziggurats, one can enjoy a breathtaking view. The city sprawled out below like a living organism, and the sunset painting the sky in brilliant orange and purple hues. How must it have appeared when ancient inhabitants climbed these heights to commune with the divine? For centuries, ziggurats have continued to stir the minds and hearts of people, leaving behind numerous questions about their true purpose and significance. These structures have undoubtedly left their mark on the history of architecture and cultural heritage, creating a space for endless research and speculation. Imagine a colossal guardian observing the world for millennia. The Great Sphinx of Giza is 73 meters long and 20 meters high. This monumental masterpiece, carved from a single block of limestone, was created over 4,000 years ago, and its origins remain shrouded in mystery. What role did it play in the lives of ancient Egyptians? Some researchers believe that the Sphinx was a guardian of the necropolis, protecting the rest of the pharaohs buried nearby. Other theories suggest that it represented a solar deity connected to the cult of Ra, or served as an astronomical marker indicating important celestial events. But there's more. Have you ever heard of the dream of Tutmosis? According to legend, this pharaoh once saw the Sphinx buried under the sand and promised to restore it if it granted him a vision. And perhaps under its paws lie secret chambers, about which archaeologists are only beginning to suspect. There, ancient knowledge or even treasures might be waiting for their time. Picture the weathered stone, worn by time, exuding an atmosphere of antiquity, as the play of light and shadow on its face creates unique patterns that change with every hour. In the morning, the Sphinx appears as a guardian awakening under the first rays of the sun, while by evening, its features become more mysterious, plunging into a mystical shadow. What is it like to witness such grandeur? And the most astonishing part? Some researchers are convinced that beneath the Sphinx lies an entire labyrinth that has yet to be explored. 8,000 years ago, as the world was just beginning to unfold, a civilization emerged in Mesopotamia, the origins of which remain shrouded in mystery. The Sumerians, as they called themselves, were known as blackheads, and believed that their culture was brought by mysterious beings known as the Anunnaki. But how could such a complex system of city-states, cuneiform writing, and advanced irrigation systems have appeared out of nowhere? Along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where today only the reeds whisper, Sumerian farmers established their first settlements, filled with life and technology. Imagine the scribes, lost in thought, tracing styluses on wet clay tablets, leaving behind cuneiform symbols that held knowledge of the world. Their cuneiform script, one of the earliest writing systems, developed so rapidly that by the 30th century BC, Sumerians could record not only agricultural accounts but also myths, laws, and astronomical observations. Did you know that their astronomical knowledge was so precise that they could distinguish 5 planets not visible to the naked eye? They attributed special significance to each celestial body, linking them to gods and fate. Sumerians created a lunar-based calendar and used it for agricultural planning. But their origins remain a mystery. Where did these people with such knowledge come from? How could they build such complex irrigation systems that allowed them to control river flows and make the land fertile? Their architectural achievements were breathtaking. Temples made of fired bricks stood several stories high, and ziggurats served as the centers of their religious life. Around these magnificent structures, many mysteries grow, for the Sumerians left behind not only architectural monuments, but also numerous myths about their origins. Their texts mention how heavenly beings came to earth and taught people about construction and writing. And amidst all these mysteries, the question stands: how did the Sumerians manage to reach such heights in science and art? In the jungles of Costa Rica, mysterious stone spheres are hidden, which are remarkable for their perfection. Their sizes range from several centimeters to 2.5 meters in diameter, and their weight can reach 16 tons. These almost perfect spheres, mostly made of granodiorite, look as if they were carved in a factory. But in reality, they were created by ancient cultures about which we know very little. It is intriguing that these stones are arranged in specific geometric patterns, raising the question: were they astronomical markers, symbols of status, or navigational aids for the ancient inhabitants of the region? Imagine the humid air of the tropical forest, where each sphere contrasts with the chaotic vegetation. The green leaves, bright flowers, and sounds of wild nature create an atmosphere of a real adventure. Around these stone giants, there is a certain mystical aura, as if they keep the secrets of ancient civilizations. Scientists still cannot explain how exactly the ancient people managed to create such perfect forms without modern tools. Some theories suggest that simple but effective methods were used, such as stone hammers and wooden wedges. Others propose that these spheres could have been important cultural or religious symbols, possibly related to the movement of celestial bodies. But what is truly astonishing? In some cases, the spheres were placed in such a way that their arrangement could be used for astronomical observations, as if the ancient inhabitants of Costa Rica were the first astronomers who used them to determine time and navigation. In this mysterious place, among the ghostly light filtering through the leaves, you cannot help but wonder, what else could they have known about our world? And you know what's most interesting? Some of these spheres are still not found, remaining hidden somewhere deep in the jungle, waiting to be discovered. Do you know that ancient Greeks already in the 6th century BC began to realize that our planet has the shape of a sphere? The Pythagoreans, observing the stars and their movement across the sky, concluded that the Earth could not be flat, because the sky would look entirely different. In their philosophical musings, they even compared the Earth to spheres rolling on the ground, and this was just the beginning. Aristotle in the 4th century BC presented several convincing proofs, including observations of the Earth's shadow on the Moon during lunar eclipses. It always had a circular shape. In his works, one can find mentions of how ships, leaving the harbour, gradually disappeared over the horizon, and the sky above them changed its star patterns depending on their location. Imagine how people, looking at the rotating stars around the North Star, tried to understand the world's structure. Eratosthenes in the 2nd century BC, using shadows falling at different times in different parts of the Earth, measured the planet's circumference with remarkable accuracy, around 40,000 kilometres. This was a true scientific achievement. In the educated circles of many ancient civilizations, from Greece to India, they knew about the spherical shape of the Earth. In ancient Rome, scholars continued to develop these ideas based on observations and mathematical calculations. But do you know what is most astonishing? Even in Mesopotamia, where they wrote on clay tablets, one can find hints that the Earth has the shape of a sphere, not a flat surface. All this contradicts the myth that the idea of a round Earth appeared only during the age of great geographical discoveries. What else do you think our ancestors could have known about the world around them? In the Temple of Hathor in Dendera, one can encounter images that provoke thought. They resemble elongated objects, reminiscent of modern incandescent lamps, with internal elements resembling a filament. These enigmatic bas-reliefs depict devices that seem to be connected to a power source, raising numerous questions about the technological achievements of ancient Egyptians. What are these images really? Some researchers claim that these images could be evidence of the existence of electricity in ancient Egypt, while others interpret them as symbolic representations of the lotus flower, embodying the rising sun and life force. But that's not all. The temple also contains other evidence of possible ancient knowledge of chemistry and electricity. The preserved colours, which still shine as if they were painted yesterday, testify to a high level of art and technology. Gilded artifacts found in other places only further fuel interest in this topic, raising questions about how exactly ancient craftsmen achieved such results. Inside the temple, a special atmosphere prevails. Soft, muted light gently falls on the bas-reliefs, creating a sense of touching something great and mysterious. Here, time seems to stand still, and the images on the walls tell stories that could change our understanding of ancient civilizations. The most remarkable thing? Some of these images are in perfect condition, with details so clear that one can discern every line and pattern. This raises even more questions about how such artifacts have survived for millennia. In the highlands of Bolivia stand the majestic Gates of the Sun, a colossal portal carved from a massive block of andesite weighing approximately 10 tons. This monument is not merely an architectural marvel. At its center lies a mysterious bas-relief depicting the god with rays, which seems to guard the passage to another world. However, this is not the most astonishing aspect. Researchers suggest that the Gates of the Sun may have served as an astronomical marker. Their precise alignment links this portal to a solar calendar, highlighting significant moments of the year, such as equinoxes and solstices. Each morning, as the sun rises over the horizon, it passes through these gates, as if greeting the ancient gods. On the days of the equinoxes, its rays precisely hit the center of the bas-relief, creating unique light effects. The symbols surrounding the gates, many of which remain unexplained, add an extra layer of intrigue. Some appear to be stylized animal images, while others resemble celestial bodies. In the thin air of the highlands, there is a sense of a sacred space. The interplay of light and shadow on the ancient carvings creates the feeling that time has stopped. With each step towards the gates, one wonders, what were the true purposes of their creation? Archaeologists continue to explore this question, and each new discovery only fuels the fascination with this magical place. Did you know that some scientists even suggest that the Gates of the Sun could be part of a broader network of ancient astronomical structures spanning the entire region? Ancient Egyptians believed that life did not end with physical death, which is why they created the Book of the Dead, a unique collection of spells and instructions designed to guide souls on their journey to the afterlife. This sacred book, consisting of more than 200 texts, was placed in tombs with the deceased to help them overcome the dangers of Duat, the realm of the dead. Imagine the flickering torches in the dark burial chambers, illuminating walls adorned with hieroglyphs that contained ancient knowledge. One of the key trials on this path was the weighing of the heart before Osiris, the god of the underworld. The heart of the deceased was placed on one side of the scales, while the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice, was placed on the other. If the heart was as light as the feather, the soul could enter the fields of Alu, the Egyptian paradise, where it would enjoy eternal life filled with happiness and abundance. However, if the heart was heavy with sin, it would be devoured by the demon Amit, and the soul would be lost forever. The journey to the afterlife was fraught with dangers and trials. Souls encountered venomous snakes, terrifying monsters, and various traps, and the Book of the Dead contained spells that protected against all these threats. For example, one spell warned against the danger of fire serpents, while another promised protection from storms. However, the process of mummification became an important ritual, ensuring the preservation of the body for eternal life. Priests emphasized the preservation of every organ and layer, using special oils and salts to protect the body from decay. Along with the mummified bodies, tombs contained a variety of items, from food and drink to amulets and mirrors, which were meant to aid in the afterlife journey. These burial rituals were solemn ceremonies filled with dignity and respect, where every detail held significance. For instance, marble sarcophagi, inscribed with prayers, served not only to protect the body, but also to help the soul find its way back to the world of the living. This belief in the continuation of life after death strengthened society, creating a powerful cultural code that influenced art, architecture, and even politics. All this occurred in an atmosphere of sacred anticipation, where every detail of the funeral cult ensured the possibility for the soul to enjoy eternal peace after the trials. Each element, from the spells to the objects in the tomb, was part of a complex system that ensured harmony between life and death. And this system left an indelible mark on human history. Did you know what Stonehenge is? It's not just stones. It's a mysterious megalithic complex that raises more questions than answers. Each of these massive blocks weighs up to 50 tons and was transported from a distance of up to 240 kilometers. How did ancient people move such colossal boulders without modern technology? Perhaps they had secret methods that modern scientists have been trying to decipher for many years. But that's not all. The arrangement of these stones is perfectly aligned with astronomical events. On certain days of the year, sunlight penetrates between the stones, creating remarkable light effects that may indicate the beginning of a season or important rituals. Imagine the wind whispering between these ancient stones, and the coolness from their surfaces filling the air. Perhaps it was an ancient observatory where our ancestors watched the stars and planets, or a ritual center where significant ceremonies took place. Some theories even suggest that Stonehenge could have been a place of healing, where people came in search of help. Each stone here may hold secrets that we still cannot understand. Why was this particular piece of land chosen? What were the purposes of its creation? And what's even more astonishing, there are studies that show the original builders may have used the sounds and vibrations created by the wind and voices to enhance magical rituals conducted there. In the jungles of Central America, where nature slowly reclaims abandoned cities, lies one of history's most mysterious enigmas, the disappearance of the Maya civilization. Imagine, during the 8th and 9th centuries of our era, thriving cities teeming with life and culture suddenly emptied. The rustling of leaves that envelop abandoned temples, and the sounds of wild animals that now fill once bustling squares create an atmosphere of mystery and desolation. Theories about the causes of their sudden departure vary from climate changes to social conflicts. One of the most discussed hypotheses is a prolonged drought that could have lasted for several decades. Research shows that rainfall levels decreased by 30%, leading to severe agricultural problems. Picture once fertile fields turning into wastelands and people leaving their homes in search of water and food. But that's not all. The depletion of resources, including wood for construction and fuel, also played a role. Residents, striving to build powerful cities, cleared forests without considering the consequences. As a result, resources were exhausted, and this became a catastrophe for their economy. But what is even more shocking is the fact that epidemics could have decimated the population. Some scientists suggest that diseases like smallpox could have claimed the lives of thousands before they had a chance to leave their cities. Furthermore, wars and social unrest added pressure to already weakened societies. Conflicts between different cities over limited resources could have led to people leaving their homes to escape violence. Picture this. Majestic pyramids that once served as centers of religious life are now covered in moss and vines, with monkeys and jaguars roaming in their shadows. Each abandoned palace tells a story of times when life here was vibrant, and now only the wind whispers about the past. And what's even more astonishing, some scientists believe that most Maya cities were abandoned within just 30 years.